I am almost disturbingly excited to talk about this. This is a movie that I had not heard of before having my attention brought to it. Nobody I've talked to about it or asked about it has heard of it, even people who I'm sure would love it. And I got to tell you about it. Cast a Deadly Spell. Simple pitch. Lovecraftian noir. And if you're thinking, well, that's been explored in some places before. There are things like comic books that, you've got the grizzled detective and he gets into Lovecraftian stuff. No. Not a gritty, realistic, well, I say realistic, but like steeped in noir things. More like a noir pastiche. Lovecraft. And it's not a detective like uncovering Lovecraftian stuff. The Lovecraftian stuff's all known. Like, magic's just a thing. It's a thing people can do. The old gods are a known quantity. It's just part of life. This is so weird, and it knows exactly what it is, and it's so fun. I love this kind of weird balance of the bizarre and the mundane. This is just another day on the job. Oh, the demon's been summoned and has killed this guy. Oh boy, that's a shame. Well, let's see if we can figure out who summoned it. All right. I love that stuff. Absolutely love it. It's why I love things like Ghostbusters and Men in Black. Like, this is so bizarre. It's like, yeah, that's another day at the office. I love that. I love it. I love that. And this captures it through the lens of just another day on the job for a detective. It's got a real good cast too. So we've got Fred Ward as the detective. He actually is Detective Lovecraft. So like this thing's flat, very open in acknowledging its influences. We have Clancy Brown as kind of a mob heavy kind of guy. We've got David Warner as like sort of the wealthy person whose interests kind of overhang the whole thing in sort of a Chinatown kind of situation. We got Julianne Moore before she hit it big. This is a real great cast. And like, this was, I believe it was made for cable. I think this was an HBO production, but like early 90s HBO production. So don't think Game of Thrones, think slightly elevated made for TV movie. But again, this thing just knows what it is. You take your car to a mechanic because there's literal gremlins in it. It's just so fun. And it does do, the actual standard Lovecraftian thing of it starts with a simple investigation and balloons into something bigger. But like we're not starting from a baseline of the old gods don't exist. Like, oh, no. We know that. We already know that. We'll still uncover something bigger, but like the horror that these things are real, I don't know. We're well past that. We dealt with that already. Don't worry about it. The cast is so fun, and the balance of humor, because like it is quite funny, but not in a jokey way, but just the absurdity of what you're watching is funny. It doesn't have to make a joke out of very much of it. It's already inherently absurd. So again, funny in the way that how a lot of people experience the humor of, say, the original Ghostbusters. It was so absurd you had to laugh. I would say that the original Ghostbusters, other than Peter Venkman, the characters took that a little bit more seriously than some of the characters doing this, but it's still kind of in that vein. And I love that mix. I love that blend so much. And I was so excited to watch something that I'd never heard of that had that feeling. Given that it is ultimately a made-for-TV movie from the 90s, the effects and whatnot are limited. Like, this thing understood its limitations. It doesn't overshoot. But some of the effects, while solid and largely practical, convincing? No. No, not really. But effective. They get the job done. And I always kind of find, like, again, this is a personal taste and probably largely a nostalgia thing, if we're being honest. I can find a charm and a functional practical effect a heck of a lot more than just a functional, computer-generated effect. Because at least they can be like, oh, I kind of see how they put that together and what they would have had to have built to, like, make that work. Boy, that took some doing. And I'm not saying that to, like, undermine the amount of work involved in computer effects. But, like, when I can see the seams, it's more entertaining for me and I can be more forgiving when I see the seams and go, oh, so that's how the costume fit together, than watching CG and feeling like I'm seeing the seams and going, oh, that needed more time to render. Like, it's just not as interesting a story in my head. Again, this is like partially nostalgia. I know that, but the visual jank is actually pretty minimal. This is pretty good for what it is. But what is there, I personally find charming more than anything else. And the movie is also that. It is charming. And Fred Ward didn't usually get to play characters with a bit of charisma to them. He gets to do it here, but like in that low-key noir detective kind of way. And he's shockingly good for that. I'll see him in these more slightly off the beaten path roles and be like, you know what? He had better range than I think people gave him credit for. He's fun in this. The whole cast is game for it. They all seem to realize what movie they're in, which this is the kind of movie where, like, if people don't know what they're making, this is the kind of thing that could end up painful. But everybody seemed to be on the same page with what movie it was that they were making. This is fun. It's not scary, but it is steeped in horror tropes and horror iconography. It is steeped in Lovecraftian concepts and notions of cults and ancient evil and demons and all these things. It's not scary, but if you like that sort of feeling of the ephemera of horror, which I do, it's part of why I like directors like Guillermo del Toro, who frequently does not scare me, but is just, everything he does is drenched in horror tones and iconography, and kind of similar with this. Not that I'm trying to compare it quality-wise to Guillermo del Toro, or it's not as atmospheric as he does, but that's kind of, it has that appeal to me, because I love horror stuff. I love monsters, and I love, the concepts and the suits and the costumes and all that, but actually actively being scared, depends on my mood. But this, I'm always in the mood for this sort of thing. Cast a Deadly Spell. Have you seen it? I doubt it. But if you have, tell me what you think of it. And if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and then come back and then tell me what you think of it. I'm flat out recommending this. Whatever your thoughts on it are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, a like, a share, a subscribe, maybe. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back next time you need a break. Time to thank some Patreon backers, and in the spirit of October, I'd like to thank Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfullah, Goddess Alita, Turok, The Thing That Goes Doink in the Anime, Ruth, Oliver B., Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Melinda Walters, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Fernobulax the Poodle, Robin Powell, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, and Rosalind Bennett. Thank you for your assistance. I don't know, I might try theming the shoutouts in the future. I don't know, we'll see. Thank you.